Welcome back to Light the Wick, the John Wick podcast for you, for today's modern listener, I would say. Wouldn't you say that, Charles?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
This is a John Wick podcast for the modern listener.
Yeah, not some old fuddy-duddy. It's not like all those John Wick podcasts you've heard a million times in the past. This is something new. This is for the modern audience. So, that's what I really want to instill in everybody.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And today we're continuing our editorial roundtable with the great Evan Schiff, who is basically the co-architect of this entire crazy fiasco of Light the Wick. He really helped us out getting all these amazing guests and putting us in touch with people and vouching for us with Chad to get him to sign off and help us. So, we cannot say how helpful Evan's involvement was, because really we couldn't have done this without him probably, or it would have taken another 5 years to do or something. So,
right.
Yeah, he is great. And we are joined once again by Gina Hirsch and Matt Evans, who assisted him on editing John Wick 3. And what's fun is we get into some Light the Fuse territory this week, right? Where we talk a little bit about Ghost Protocol. We talk about the Burge.
Yeah.
Gina was on that movie as well. So there's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't quite enough to give you the Light the Fuse music back, but it's still, this is like a Light the Wick Fuse episode or something.
It's a nice hybrid. And there's some great stories about that longer cut of John Wick and what Lionsgate thought they were getting with a slightly longer cut and then being disappointed by it not being long enough. I mean, it's a great story. But anyway, yeah, it's just really a fun chat. And I'm really excited for people to hear it and to finish this wonderful talk that we did.
And there are a couple things I'd like to talk about afterwards. But for now, let's just get into your favorite part of the show.
Yeah, this is the centerpiece of the show. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. So this episode is brought to you by Jeremy Dillon, and you should check out his podcast, My Favorite Album. And that's where he interviews a different musician, songwriter, actor, or filmmaker about the music they love and how it's influenced them and their work. And Charles and I were on, but besides us, Drew Pierce, co-writer of Rogue Nation, Bob Odenkirk, John Cryer, all these amazing people have come on his show, and you should definitely check it out. This episode is also brought to you by John B., and it's also brought to you by Real Estate Interest, LLC, commercial real estate advice for growing companies. And they want to impart that companies can consult with them even if they are not looking to buy or sell. They help companies save and strategize too. So check them out.
Yep, go ahead and check them out and report back. Let us know.
And with that, we'll get into this interview and we'll be back right afterwards.
Is there any chance that we're going to see that 2-hour, 45-minute cut ever?
No.
Can we see that?
No.
It's never going to come out? They won't do it? They won't do an extended cut ever?
Hashtag
was an
release the
extended
Schiff
cut.
Yeah.
There was an extended cut, I think. Gina, did you see the extended cut?
Oh, wait, no, it is true that, it wasn't, yes. Like, what was I doing?
Wait, is it out?
It was sort of like, it was either an extended cut or were they going to be the scenes on the DVD? It was, wasn't really fully explained to me. Oh, you're right. I think it was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be an extended cut. But the extended cut wasn't the 2:45 cut. It was okay, this is our end product. All right, now, okay, Chad, going back. What do you really miss? What do you, and actually, I love this about him. Like, one of the thing that was like the most important to him was he wanted to make sure that everybody could see the ballet. Because, they had these incredible dancers that were just so fantastic. And he was so happy whenever he was watching that ballet. So, I worked on an extended ballet scene. I don't know that there was ever like a fully sculpted
now we're going to have to start the release this to Halsky cut on Twitter and really get this movement going. Yeah.
No.
My memory of the extended cut is that it was sort of a compromise where the studio was really putting the pressure on to cut like even more time out of the movie than any of us on the creative side wanted to do. And we never went as far as they were proposing, but, we had to go a step in their direction. And so the compromise was, if you cut things out of the theatrical cut that you really miss, we can create this extended cut thing. We don't know exactly what we're going to do with it yet. Maybe it'll be, an added thing on the DVD, or maybe some extra download somewhere. I don't know. I still don't actually know what happened to it, if anything. But I think there was a sort of hilarious, for me, miscommunication between what Chad wanted for the extended cut and what Lionsgate thought they were going to get for the extended cut. Because, you say extended cut and you start thinking Lord of the Rings, and it's like an extra half an hour of material, and you can create a whole other product that you can sell from it, and it has its own, like DVD jacket and marketing and whatever. And it's like, here's the extended cut. And so when we turned in an extended cut that I think was like 5 minutes longer than the theatrical cut,
yeah,
they were like, wait, where's the extended part? And we're like, no, this is it. We put some of the action back in. We added more ballet. There was like, we'd cut some kills in the ballet. We'd cut some kills in the glass house. We'd cut like a kill here and there, like there's like subway platform in Grand Central Station. I think there was one. And there's a couple sort of like, moments that were maybe like 15 to 45 seconds, for each moment that just got sprinkled back into the movie. And I think the helicopter went back in. And
there was also what about that scene with, of course, now I feel kind of guilty that I don't remember I think we decided never to actually put it in, but the scene with Hallie at the end.
Oh, I think that's in the deleted scene.
Where
it is, okay, good, yeah.
Yeah.
She meets, with the two dogs.
But I think Chad, like that was an example of I don't think that made it into the extended cut. We looked at it. We definitely did a version where that was there.
No, I remember working on it.
But Chad wasn't interested in making an extended cut that people were going to watch and be like, oh, well, clearly that's why all this stuff was on the cutting room floor. Like he wasn't interested in putting everything back in just to put it back in and see it on screen. He actually, like, as we were going through it, was applying a test of like, does this make sense for the story? Do we need it? Does it help anything? And so that's why the extended version was not as long, as I think the studio may have expected.
And probably why it was never released.
That version's gone too?
The extra 5 or 6 minutes, it's around somewhere. I just, I don't know.
I mean, it's just like lying around somewhere. Like, can we share it with people?
It's in Greg's backpack. We gotta go.
No, it's
Greg.
like lying around in a vault at Lionsgate somewhere.
The thing is, like, Chad is, smart enough to know that once the movie comes out, like, that's going to be the movie, and so I think he, went through a lot to get the movie to a place where that is his version, that's his version. So like this extended thing became kind of moot, no one, including Chad, really thinks that's some better version of, or even an equal version of the movie, it was just sort of part of the process.
Yeah, I think if you were going to let Chad show the movie, to an audience of his choosing and let him decide which version to choose, he would choose a theatrical one.
Oh.
Wow. Well, you got our hopes up and you dashed them just as quickly. Gina, we have to ask about your experience on Ghost Protocol, both tolerating Evan and also working on that amazing production with your father. Can you tell us what that experience was like for you?
Sure. Working with Evan was a dream. We worked very well together. Evan was really, all, kidding aside, like, it's not really very fun to be a nepotism case if you want to be taken seriously.
Right.
So, Evan always took me seriously and never just assumed like, oh, she's just here because of her dad or something, it was like part of the team, and I, as somebody who is still coming up in the assistant world, I really, really appreciated that. And yeah, I mean, it was great. It was such an interesting, weird movie to be on. It just the dailies coming in. You're like, oh, Tom's running down a building. He's definitely running down the side of a building. That's happening.
I remember the day that we got the footage where he's like propped up, with his like he's like horizontal. His like feet are like against one of the like, you know, I don't know, supports of the building, and then his back against the other, and he's like trying to fish for that laser cutter thing, you know. And we got the dailies of he like falls 2 or 3 stories before he puts his glove on the glass and it like catches him. But like the actual dailies for that, he like actually is falling 2 stories. And so even the dailies with those wires, you know, we were like all crowded into my office watching this, just going, what the fuck are they doing out there? Like, that looks scary. That looks crazy. What are they doing? It was just amazing.
I do have to just let you guys in on a small secret about Ghost Protocol that, you know, I'm sure you're dying to know. But the voice that says agent confirmed, that's my voice.
What?
So I am the person. I say agent confirmed and retinal scan required and please enter your code. You know, that computerized
That's
voice,
on the train scene, right?
It's in a few. It's scattered. That's right. Well, one of it is when he's running around alongside the train, but it's kind of scattered through the movie because early on I just kind of, you know, recorded a bunch of those to kind of be scattered for use if it came up. And, you know, Pixar has this kind of long-standing tradition where they let their, you know, they purposely have their assistants and people who work at Pixar voice, you know, this one-line character here or there. So Brad Bird, you know, was very generous and was just sort of like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that. We won't re-record it. And so this is my claim to fame. I mean,
my God, we love it. We're trying to talk to Teddy Newton about his role as the other voice in the phone booth of Ghost Protocol. I don't know if you remember that.
Which was my role that Brad did not let me keep.
He stole from you. Yeah.
Well, you know, two words is different than a you know, pivotal plot point.
Wow, we had no idea we were talking to an actor from the production today. Yeah.
Well, we recently tweeted a photo of, you know, there's that photo that David James took of Tom Cruise sitting at the very tip top of the Burj. And Evan, I assume you both were there when this happened. Evan, you responded on Twitter. Can you tell what you were saying?
Well, it triggered a memory that there was a YouTube video that got very quickly taken down where the stunt crew had gone up to that antenna and taken a video when they were sitting on the top of it and put it on YouTube. And in the video, they sort of, as a joke, reference like there's 3 of them, and they point to one of them, and be like, and that guy's not even wearing a safety harness, and he sort of like leans back while, you know, holding onto the handle on top of the spire. And I think that was enough where between sort of, you know, preempting the moment for Tom doing that helicopter shoot and the like, you know, is this a joke, is this not a joke thing of like these guys are up here without proper safety harnesses, you know, it got quickly taken down, but you can still find it on YouTube. And
really,
yeah, it's I forget. I'll give you, you know, you have the link. You can tweet the link out. But it's cool. These guys, you know, it's like they have, you know, a little like handheld, you know, point and shoot that they're using in video mode, and they sort of, you know, at one point they hold it over the side of the antenna, and you just get this dizzying view looking down at the ground. And it definitely actually gives you a much better idea of how high you are when you see it on like a cheap little camera like that than when you see it, you know, with a red camera from a helicopter.
Right. But you had also said that you thought it was just some B-roll of Dubai that had come in, right? And then
the actual like the actual Tom sitting on the top of the spire. Yeah, when that came in, that was just, I think it just came in, right? Like,
I remember being like, what is this?
Yeah, we're like, how do we use this? What scene does this go in?
Right.
It's just 5 minutes of like a slow helicopter ride towards the Burj, and then you're like, oh, there's like a little speck on the top of the spire. Like, oh, that little speck is a human. Oh, that little speck is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But I think we even tried to cut something. They wanted to use it for something called like a motion billboard, and we didn't really understand what that meant. That was like a marketing term that we, you know, filmmakers were not familiar with. So we ended up just handing the footage off. But like, I think the plan was for it to be on like one of those LED screens in Times Square.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Originally, I don't know. Like, aside from magazine covers, I'm not sure I've actually seen it, you know, in video anywhere else.
And Gina, were you in Dubai as well?
No, I was always back in LA. I wasn't on location. So, but you know, footage looked great. We're coming back. They're like, wow, some crazy shit is going on over there.
Yeah, none of us were actually in either. Prague was the first location, right?
Was it? I don't remember.
Prague.
No. It wasn't that they're shooting the Russia stuff in the first location, right? Weren't they?
Right, but I think they were shooting that in Prague.
They shot it in Prague? Okay.
Yeah. So as you can tell, none of us were there for the Prague stuff or the Dubai stuff. And then I went up to Vancouver when they came back to Vancouver. But yeah, we were just like receiving this footage, all the Dubai's footage, they were shooting, and then it would take a couple days for it to like the neg to get shipped and developed, especially because it was like IMAX film and that had to go to a particular place that was separate from the 35 millimeter stuff. So like we were a couple days behind by the time that we'd actually get dailies into editorial. And yeah, we were just watching this stuff being like, in awe without really having any context or idea before we loaded the footage up what exactly we were about to see.
Right.
Was that process, I don't know, Gina, if your father talked to you about this at all, but the process that we've read about how you guys were cutting this together and then sort of filming things at the same time. And Matt, I know you've worked for JJ for a number of years, and that seems to be kind of like the house style at Bad Robot too, which is just to grab stuff wherever you can while cutting. But was that sort of a new experience for you on that movie?
You mean after production was over to then be
but
up?
Even, we've heard stories like on the set of the car park, there was like a doorway that was built for the Russian prison because they needed a gag like that, stuff like that.
I just thought that was smart. I just thought that was like, they're just looking at the scenes as they're being assembled, and you always want to be able to pick up something that you might be missing. So I didn't think of that as being so unique, but before, I remember working on a very small movie where the director always shot after they would shoot a scene, even if it was just like in an office or, it's a room somewhere, he would then just roll the camera on the empty set for a little while, just in case they would want to plate later. And they could shoot the actor against a green screen, and then they'd always be able to like pick up, we need him to say this line or what, So, the cool thing about, the Bad Robot way is it's where you find out, they're like, we can shoot in this office over here, like if it's just an insert, like, hey, who's around? We've got a camera. Let's go. Let's pick up that insert on so-and-so's desk. So that's really fun. But it was definitely something though. The scenes were so massive that they would just, it's true that like many weeks later you'd be like, and also this is for that scene too. And this is for that scene too. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of stuff, but it was very fun. And that's where I don't know if you, Evan, you knew Matt before, but that's where we first encountered Matt.
No, that was where I first, Matt and I should have encountered each other when we were both on different shows in London in 2008, living in the same like apartment hotel building at the same time. But we didn't. So yeah, I met Matt because they were doing Super 8 at Bad Robot at the same time that we were doing Ghost Protocol. And I just have this annoying tendency to go and invade people's offices and chat for a while, which I think got me in trouble with Paul a couple of times when I was not in my office. But
endless. He's talking endlessly.
Yeah. But it's good. This business is built on networking. So, you go and you find, other cool people doing cool things. And you're like, oh, hey, what's that? Oh, Super 8. Oh, nice.
So when you brought on Matt, earlier on in the process on John Wick, were you giving him reels to cut down, or were you giving him scenes to work on, or what was that process like? And then again, also when Gina came on, what was that? I assume you're working in separate rooms on separate scenes and things, right?
Yeah, the way when you're in a multi-editor situation, different teams of editors handle it differently. Like if you ask Mary, you did actually, I think, ask Marianne and Mary Jo, how they worked, and they were like, we have our separate reels, and Matt can talk more to that especially. But for me, I tend to be I share everything. I don't have my cut. It's just the movie. And so, if I'm in reel 6 and Matt wants to jump into reel 4 and Gina wants to jump into reel 2, like everything's fair game. I don't, Matt, maybe you remember more specifically if there was like a first week, edict of like, check out this scene that's not working, or if it was just like sort of get up to speed in preparation for the hell that was going to come after Morocco.
Yeah, no, it was, there wasn't an edict of like, focus on this. It was get to know the movie and start trimming up things that you think we can tighten and do that as you were getting ready for Morocco. But no, there wasn't anything in particular because you guys had already been working on all that material for a good 6 weeks or so. So it had been, or it might have been even more than that, but it was fairly refined at that point. And there's only so much you can do to a scene when you don't have the surrounding material, because what you're going to have after or before it kind of dictates what you need to do with those scenes that exist already. So you can plan, like, I'm going to lose this opening shot and we're just going to pre-lap a line here. But if you don't know what you're coming from because it hasn't been shot, you just kind of need to wait for that material to get there.
I do remember, let's see if your memory is the same as mine on this, Matt, but I do remember that while we were getting dailies for Morocco, which we were trying to split so that we could get through them faster. So I would take a scene, Matt would take a scene, we'd alternate.
Yeah.
I don't remember what kept getting in the way, but like politics or, just sort of general stuff kept getting in the way of me cutting things, which, tends to happen. And so I remember getting frustrated at one point and be like, damn it, like Matt's just being able to like sit in his room cutting scenes all day long. Like he's plowing through way more scenes than I am. I'm barely making it through like one scene a day. And Matt's like, okay, that's done. And it's just like, yeah, my memory of that time was like, there was just, I don't even remember the drama, but there was some drama going on that kept sort of like interfering with my day.
Yeah. I mean, you're the guy that gets the phone calls from producers, from Chad, from set. Hey, do we have what we need here? Like, that it just interrupts your day all the time. And so you either end up working after production wraps just to get caught up, or you bring some help on. And I get to just sit in the background with a closed door and play with footage. Nobody's calling me, which is, it's a good place to be. I love being the lead as well, and having those phone calls and the responsibility and working with the director tight hand in hand, getting the movie made. But there's a really fun thing to being in the back seat with, your own keyboard and monitor, and nobody's looking in the back.
Well, and you said, Evan, when the reels are the reels, the movie's the movie, and so if Matt or Gina are working on reel 6 or whatever, and then you come back and look at it, if that's the movie now, if there are things in there that you don't particularly like or you feel like don't work, does that ever happen? And what's the process then of, do you have conversations with them? Do you show to Chad? I mean, how does that work?
It's pretty fluid, but yeah, I would say before Chad has seen anything, if I have thoughts or notes, like I'll just go over and we'll pull it up and play it and talk about it. And, it's not a situation where like me as like the starting editor can, walk in and be like, do this, it's definitely a conversation, because the ultimate arbiter is Chad. And so, there is definitely, I think like when Gina came on, Gina did a bunch of things and would throw them in a bin for me. And then when Chad was in my office and we were ready to go through them, we would pull Gina in so that we're trying, it's not like a good workflow to be making a bunch of like changes to somebody else's work without their knowledge that it's at least happening, so and especially when, as an editor, when you revisit a scene, you become familiar with those dailies again. You sort of temporarily store them in your head of like all the different takes and your different options. And so even if I'm in the room with Chad looking at a scene that Gina did a pass on, I'm not like refreshed on all the different options for that scene. So it's actually not even the best workflow for me to start diving into it. It's much better to just make sure that Gina's in the room and hears Chad's feedback directly, and then can go address that, and put it back in the cut, with whatever changes Chad requests.
Right.
There were times I remember working when we were really down to the wire, when it was these weird things where it was like, find me 26 seconds. I need 26 seconds out. Figure it out, So when you're really, really, really honing in, I mean, I was taking a few frames out here, a few frames out here. It was really, and so then I would have a sequence like filled with locators, 35 locators of just like, these are some trims that I think could work, and then just with Evan and Chad be like, does this one? How about this one? How about this one? And then I always saw what I was doing, because I mean, I really wanted to respect Evan's cut, and so I always saw my work as suggestions that I wanted us all to agree on, and I was never going to be like, God damn it, I wasn't going to argue for something hard if it wasn't, so it was sort of like when I was making changes at that point, it felt like that was the start of the three of us doing one thing rather than me going over here and doing my version or something.
I have two different ways that I present or don't cut changes to Chad. There's the like, here, let me call your attention to this change and get a yes or a no. And then there's the, here, let me play you the sequence. And if you don't notice anything that bumps you, then we're all good and let's just move on. And, we definitely, as the later we got, we used both of those. Because sometimes, yeah, Chad was over the idea of taking time out, even when we were still getting pressure from from on top to do that. So there was a lot of just like, okay, play it to me. All right, sure, it's fine. Do you want to know what we changed? No.
Well, I know we've gone on a little long, but I wanted to ask from everybody, was your sort of takeaway from this experience? Did you learn anything? Did you take something that you did on this job and, apply it to the next or anything like that?
For me, I love being hands-on with how Chad shoots action, and it's doing other action scenes in other movies. It can be frustrating because you don't get that type of coverage, or see the threat, reveal it, and then you take care of it. And it's simple storytelling that's really fun to cut. And it made me focus a lot more on action beats and how well they do them. And then it made me jealous because you don't always get that in future projects.
I mean, my takeaway is kind of boring, but it was, I think I've already made this point, just that it was the getting people with different concerns and, different points of view to all agree on something. I kind of walked away being like, wow, I was sure someone was going to hate my guts by the end of this process, but somehow everyone seems all right. It's okay. So I'm newly restored faith in, finding that version that everyone can agree on.
Nice.
I think we haven't really fully explained the mandate when Gina came on, and so she's underselling it a little bit because she was in a sort of unenviable position of being the person that, like this, as I mentioned, the studio was applying a lot of pressure for us to take time out, and they wanted to know that there was somebody actually working on doing that. And Chad had other priorities, some of which included getting time out, but it wasn't his primary concern. And so Gina was the editor that the studio could call to specifically talk about how much more time they were hoping to get out. And so she was in it. It was definitely a very politically tricky position to be smack in the middle between a studio that wants more time out and a director that maybe doesn't. Yeah, she navigated that so well and came out with both Chad and the studio loving working with her, which is just it was not an easy needle to thread.
Well, part of it is that, and I really appreciate this, I'm glad that Evan and I know each other, we have a relationship. So the kind of traditional way that this is handled some in other instances is they'll just straight up kind of be like, cool, another editor that you will never meet is going to work in another building on another version that you don't have to participate in, and we'll just see how they do, but because I have because they did trust Chad and Evan enough to pick the person that was going to do that, and because I had the relationship with them, it was just never going to be like that. It was never going to be, oh, I'm doing this version, but you're doing that. It was I always wanted to my goal was to make Chad and Evan happy with the movie, you know?
That's great.
Yeah, it was tricky, but
scenario.
it worked out.
Evan's on the next John Wick. He's in over his head again. Surprise, surprise. Evan Schiff needs help. He calls up the phone. Matt, Gina, will you come assist him on getting John Wick 4 and 5 into shape should he need it?
Absolutely.
We'll see. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This was a huge thrill for us, and I love this roundtable kind of chat. Evan was right. This gave a lot of great context and depth, and so it was a big thrill for us. So thank you guys so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Charles, another one in the can.
Yes.
How do you feel?
I feel great. It's cool to hear about the extended cuts of the movie, but it makes me sad that there is an extended cut that's stuck in a vault somewhere at Lionsgate. And then there's also a super extended cut that's just lost in time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's fun to imagine those extended cuts more so sometimes than it is to watch them.
It's true. Sometimes when you finally get to see them, then they're not quite what you expected. But I don't know. I would love to be able to see this.
Yeah. Would I want another 40 minutes of John Wick? Absolutely, I would. I would love another 5 minutes of John Wick. I don't care.
I know. They talk about it's more sequences of just John kind of walking through places and music, the John Wick music. Fuck yeah, I'm into that. Give me that. I want. So I'd love to see that cut. It's it makes me a little sad, but maybe we can do a Mission Impossible mission and break into the vault at Lionsgate and get that thing out of there.
Or we can start release the slightly longer John Wick cut hashtag and get the fan support out there for it.
Hashtag release the slightly longer John Wick cut.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's pretty significantly longer, though. It's definitely worth doing. I want it.
Well, I think the super long one is just... That's in the wind.
Where is Lionsgate? Are they connected with a streamer?
They're not. They're located in Santa Monica. I'm sure you've been to have you ever been to their offices before, Charles?
I think maybe I have once. I can't remember though. Yeah. I think I know what office you're talking about. I've at least driven by it.
Maybe nobody's there and we can just kind of sneak in and get it if you're into that. You want to do that?
that's the thing right there.
Okay.
Another thing that was brought up, there's a video that Evan mentions. It's about stunt guys at the top of the Burj. Have you seen this video?
No.
We need to find it, and we need to get it and put it in our show notes if we do find it, because I don't know what he's talking about, and we need to get that from him or from wherever it is.
Should I message him right now and say, where is this video? And
yes.
Okay, I will do that.
Something about the stunt guys at the top of the Burj, and I think he said it. Maybe he said, I don't remember where he said it was, but we need to track it down.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it, and it'll be in our show notes, which is a perfect segue to Charles. You want to tell everybody about what they should be doing?
Yes, actually, I want to tell everybody to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/lightthefuse, sign up for the bonus content or any other levels, and support our show, and then you get fun stuff in return. And also go to our TeePublic page, which has all our shirts and magnets and stickers and masks and whatever you want. That is linked through our website, lightthefusepodcast.com, in the merch section. While you're at the website, you can also go to the episode guide and check out all of our beautiful show notes that we have for all of our back catalog. It's a really great resource and cool making of stuff you can find in there. It's really definitely worth checking out. And then also follow us on social media at LightTheFusePod on Twitter and Instagram. We're always posting good behind-the-scenes nuggets there and engaging people and asking them about their favorite Mission Impossible stuff and sharing things related to the episodes that are coming out week to week. So follow us on social media. And I want to give a special thank you to Dustin Catalan. So a big thank you to Dustin for helping us make this episode possible. And I also want to thank our intern, Abby Smith. And I want to thank our editor and mixer, Luke Burson. And I also need to give a big thank you to Kevin Blumenfeld for our legally dissimilar John Wick music. I feel like we have not been thanking him enough, because obviously he's been risking his legal status for Light the Fuse for years now, but now he's in a whole new way. He's risking his life for us with this John Wick ripoff music.
Yeah. It's a different skill set. He's been ripping off sort of traditional big orchestra. Now he's ripping off more electronic. And you know what? It works just as well.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's almost too dissimilar. That's why I feel like we haven't talked about it. There's no way Lionsgate could threaten legal action. It's just too...
So you're saying like Kevin's too good at ripping him off now?
Yeah, he is too good. He'll never be caught.
I mean, he's and like you said, it's so versatile. Kevin gives us the different styles of music like it's nothing.
Like
just
it's nothing.
Just throwing it at us.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive. But yes, thank you, Kevin, for that. And we'll be back next. Who's next week, Charles?
Next week we have Luca Mosca. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, but he is the amazing costume designer of all the movies, and he is featured in John Wick 2 as the tailor.
Yes, and he is an absolute riot.
Yeah, he is so fun to talk to. He's got this great accent and is so funny and in this really kind of funny, dry way, and it's great. We've got him coming up. We've got other amazing people involved with John Wick coming up. We've also got Paul Hirsch coming back on the show, which is really exciting. So, you got to come back for sure.
All right, until next week, that's it for us.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcast@gmail.com. The doors to any service or provider in connection with the Continental are now closed.